times of sharing. Durian ASEAN.
The Durian Heat, bringing big ideas and critical opinions in Southeast Asia.
Hi, welcome back to Durian ASEAN. You're with Grace at the Durian Heat, where we talk about issues and also discuss interesting topics at Durian ASEAN here. And today we have invited a special guest from Kyoto Protocol, and he's the vocalist of the band. His name is Fuad. So let's welcome him. Hello.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for coming for the interview today. Well, I know you as a vocalist from Kyoto Protocol, but I guess you can explain further about yourself.
Okay, so yeah, I think most people would know me from the band where I'm the vocalist and the guitarist, but I have a day job, and that is as an analyst with a fund called Opus Asset Management.
Right.
Yeah, so we do fixed income. So means that we help people invest, people or companies invest in bonds.
So before we talk about your daily job, I'd love to talk about something else. Perhaps we start with the music first.
Okay.
Yeah. So you have your band and you've been in the music industry for some time. So you deal with the creativity side and also business side when it comes to music, I believe.
Yeah.
So how is it like? How is it your experience so far?
Well, really when we started the band, it was really just to have fun, play music, write, and, just kind of have that lasting legacy of that song that people will remember, people can sing along to, So definitely the creative side was something that was very loose, very free flow, very easygoing, very fluid.
So even back then you did have your daily jobs, right? Even when you created band?
Yeah, I had just started my job at that point. Yeah. But then of course over time then we realized we started having a bit more success, and we followed that success because we felt that hey, if it ever came to the point where we could make this a sustainable thing, or it would be nice for the music to come to the point where we don't have to pay for it. For example, if we pay for a guitar or amplifier, we can have gigs that will actually pay for it, rather than having to come out with our own pocket. So it's like a hobby that pays for itself. So that was really
expensive hobby.
It is an expensive hobby, but thankfully it is at a level that can pay for itself, for us at least.
Right. So you talked about the sustainability here in music. How is it like in Malaysia? A lot of people do talk about the maintaining your let's say your income when it comes to music. It's really hard, and I'm not trying to say that to break through all these ideas, you can survive being a full-time musician, but from your own perspectives, how is it like?
From my perspective, I'm quite happy to maintain what I'm doing so far. I think my day job, I actually love it. It gives me skills.
Right.
I have to look at markets. I have to keep up to date with what's happening, global events, with and the local economy and the global economy and stuff. And it really gives you strong money sense. But on the other hand, the creativity side it's fun. It's I get to be with 4 other guys who all of us love each other, and we have great fun doing what we do, and to have total strangers listen to music and enjoy it and be able to connect to that's something very, very special. So really that's my life. And if I've being in the music as long as we have, about 6 years now, we've seen the business side of it, and we've seen what other guys who are full-time have to do. Maybe it's sessioning or teaching, and sometimes it's maybe having to shift your priorities to making a bit more commercially accepted music, and that's not something that I want. I don't want any of that. I would rather be in my desk job than session for somebody.
So you rather keep music as your own hobby and enjoy and make your own tunes?
I'd rather music just be enjoyable in that sense. Yeah.
But when it comes to business aspect in the music, right? How do you go about it? Because you need to make sure that your music goes out to the public, and when people listen your tunes and perhaps buy your albums or songs.
Yeah.
So how is it so far? As much as you want to have fun and
yeah, it's very difficult, to be honest. I mean, because we'll be doing all this stuff on our own, and even as it is, even if we do all this stuff, there isn't a lot of profit in it yet, at least. But wow, what can I say? It's a lot of work. Imagine, like, you have to be your own PR, you have to be your own social media manager, you have to also be the writers, you also have to be your own promoters and stuff. So it's many functions, and I think it's okay. I think with today's technology, a lot of that has been kind of cut down in terms of work. For example, I can easily take calls when I'm driving on the way to somewhere, and we can discuss if people want to book us for a gig or not, or even if we're all the 5 members are not in the same place, we can send song ideas via the internet, and then then when we get together, then we can work on a song. So I think technology is a real enabler in this sense. Also, when it comes to reaching new ears, and I think we were very fortunate to be coming out at that time where a lot of people were just getting onto social media and using it for more entertainment purposes. I think in today's world, social media is used slightly differently.
Yeah.
I mean, it's great. I mean, it's great, but it's just that at that time, I think also the platforms, they were in their infancy. So really we benefited off of not really having a lot of thresholds or a lot of barriers to helping us get our message out there. And what I mean specifically is, like, for example, Facebook, they kind of limit how many people you can reach if you have a certain number of subscribers. For example, if I have 10,000 subscribers, most probably, and if I don't make an ad, I'll only reach about 1,000 to 2,000 or whatever, right?
Okay.
So if I make an ad, then I can reach more people.
So that's the business side of it.
That's the business side of it. So when we started out, it was all free. Everything was free. There are all these free tools that you can use. And nowadays, the free tools are starting to ask for their payment.
Right, of course.
Because not everything comes for free. Everything has a price, right?
So that's very interesting. But then Kyoto Protocol, when we think of that band, it's already established in Malaysia, of course. And
I'm glad you think so.
And a lot of people do recognize the band name itself and the songs as well, and the albums. And
I think that was a great success in creating a weird band name, so people will remember.
So why Kyoto Protocol? And a lot of people, I'm sure they have asked you that before. But apart from that, talk about the music industry in general in Malaysia. Off air, we've talked a lot of aspects, a lot of perspectives when it comes to music industry, rather than sustaining yourself financially here. But talk about the creativity, because nowadays, if you compare it nowadays to those days, like perhaps 6 years or 7 years ago, how is it different in terms of indie bands, local music?
I think it hasn't really changed that much. I think from the sense of, if an indie band, if your direction is you want to be indie, because you don't have any limits, right? You can do whatever you want. You can be kind of like the groundbreaker in terms of a new sound or what. Then possibly someone will find you marketable, and then they will help bring you to the next level. That hasn't changed. I feel like the odds are still the same, which is, very, very rare.
That is rare.
Right?
Yeah.
So that kind of route is generally quite rare. But the other kind of route where maybe you start off already kind of commercial, that hasn't really changed.
So do you consider Kyoto Protocol as still an indie band, or it's you guys have already have broken through that concept?
I definitely think we're still independent. Yeah, definitely, without a shadow of a doubt.
So on your music journey, right? Have you guys ever? I mean, I'm sure were proposed by agency or to be bond to that label market, or
Yeah, that's right.
Encountered.
Exactly. Yeah. No, but we haven't really encountered anything that was too compelling. Like, in a sense, like labels nowadays, they are very happy to just take established acts and then just do distribution for them in Malaysia. So Malaysia doesn't really sign artists anymore. I think they only do very, very few. Very selective few. So only those that can have some kind of commercial success. And even then, the labels are probably taking a risk as well.
From the audience perspectives here then, how has the audience changed or adapted to the music industry here in Malaysia locally?
Okay, maybe one thing has changed, and I think you pointed it out very correctly, that audiences has changed and consumption of music has changed. So definitely a lot of it has moved online. If you thought it was a lot of people listen to music online in 2005, even more do so in 2010, and even more do so in 2015.
For sure.
If you look at the number one method of consuming music now, it's probably YouTube.
Yeah,
and then you've got you've got Spotify and all these things coming out, which I hope will really kind of change up the market a bit.
But how does that benefit local musicians in Malaysia? Rather than providing the platform,
because it's a platform that's only music. So I think it's great for Spotify to bring it back to an only music platform. I think that's very important, because when you're on YouTube, you are basically in competition with everything else. You're in competition with comedy shows, you're in competition with viral videos and cat videos and whatever. You're in competition with all kinds of random stuff, you know. And with Spotify, at least it limits the competition to just music. True. Even though it's still one really tough sell, it kind of makes the odds slightly better. And also they pay out better than YouTube if you become a partner. If you want to make those revenues.
But you said the audience, they do listen to music more and more, right? With the more platforms.
I think they're more online and they're less offline.
Oh, right.
So that's kind of...
Do you think they're lazy?
Sad part. Oh, of course. I mean, humans inherently are lazy. If you have a winding path through a garden, right, over time you'll see the grass start to bald in a straight line. Right? It's human nature. No matter where you go in the world. Maybe in some places where thought is a bit more developed and people think long term, like, oh no, I'll destroy this beautiful garden if I step on the grass, then they won't do it. But most likely in Malaysia, you'll have bald grass. You can't expect any less from Malaysians.
So it is all those online platforms for musicians to expose their music to. But then the audience, they have become sort of lazier, and they were like, I can watch a performance on YouTube anyways. Why going for live performances?
Well, so that's the thing. I think they are missing out. Because actually they want live performances as well. It's just that
missing out the interaction, the chemistry sort of between the performers and audience, or
as in there's a certain something
touch.
There's this certain something that cannot be explained, or the French call it je ne sais quoi, right? So for you being live in front of somebody, that's a real connection there, So when you watch somebody on YouTube and stuff, and then when you've become big enough of a fan, when they come over, then only you want to watch them live. But when it used to be, live used to be a discovery platform as well, when now it's live music is being used as a big money maker, because people don't really, it's harder to make money from CDs and stuff like that. So people are pushing live as one of the main things.
So Kyoto Protocol, how often do you perform, and locally?
We used to perform about twice a month, I would say, just random places, doesn't matter what it is or something like that. But I do find that especially this year, maybe it's a symptom of a slightly bad or like a slightly slower economy this year, but I find that there are not so many gigs anymore.
But there are more platforms opened up, right, for musicians to play?
I think there are, but these platforms all come at a cost as well. Like, for example, if you want to make a significant YouTube video, you do need some kind of device to record it on. You do need some kind of computer, and maybe not everybody has that platform.
Software,
after buying a guitar, stuff like that. So live used to be that thing where people could just go and showcase and make friends and make new connections and stuff like that. It still is. I think there's still a lot of more live venues and all that. It's just that it becomes harder to know about them. It becomes harder to find out, and I really hope that is a temporary thing and people will continue to support live music.
Okay, we're still talking about music here. fans, how do you maintain your fans, Kyoto Protocol? Do you still keep in touch with how personalized can you be?
Well, we honestly just have quite an open approach. I mean, it's obviously very hard to be active because we don't really know where they are all the time.
Okay.
So to go out and look for them, that's going to be a bit tougher, right?
But
So-
you have a certain followers, right?
Yeah, as in, but like passively, by which I mean, you know, we have our social media or
For
we have
sure.
our email, even if it's not social. We're contactable. If they ever do send stuff to us, we're more than happy to just talk or oblige, or you know, if they want to talk about music, they want to talk about, hey, you guys got anything coming up, or if you want to find out more about us, we always answer.
Yeah?
Yeah, and sometimes we
Responds
like
quite
to
well.
we like to poke fun also. Like just have a laugh, like, you know, we can't be too serious about everything.
For sure. So in your band, who's the most humorous band member, or if you were to just reveal a little bit about Kyoto
Oh yeah.
Protocol?
Well, definitely there's a guy who likes to make a lot of jokes. His name is Shaq, Shaquille. But he has this interesting personality. Like, he likes to act as if, or maybe he is kind of introvert in a sense.
Alright.
But then once you actually start talking, then you'll hear all the nonsense come out.
Really?
Yeah.
So he's the, like, you know,
I mean, how can you be shy and be the Joker at the same time? It's weird, right?
it is a weird combination.
So, but he is that. He is exactly that. He's shy and he's a Joker at the same time.
And who's the most punctual and sort of disciplined member?
None of us really. I think all of us, we know that, you know, this isn't our main
Right.
money maker. It's something we enjoy, so you know, we keep it fun that way. We're
So
not
are
too
you saying it
serious.
would be different if it was main job, the music was main job, all those members' discipline and attitude towards making
It
music?
could be different. Yeah.
Yeah?
It's possible. It would be
So have
different.
you guys talked about it already?
Yeah, of course we have. Yeah,
And then
6
what was
years.
the verdicts from you all?
Well, basically, until the point where we feel that it's possible to make the jump, we won't lah.
No.
Yeah, we can't afford to. We can't afford to take that risk yet.
All right.
So
Well,
in the meantime, we have to try and straddle both lines until we grow it to a certain point where we feel, yeah, okay, if I jump off from this Titanic onto this lifeboat, it won't sink.
right.
So the lifeboat needs to be big enough and strong enough. If it's not big enough and strong enough, we won't jump.
That's interesting. Well, Fuad, you're doing you have your daily job, and you're also handling the creativity when it comes to music.
Yeah.
So people can tell you that you're basically using both sides of brain.
Oh, I think so. Well, I don't know. Because the music, it doesn't really feel like I have to use my brain.
Really?
It's really
For the
just
creativity, you sometimes
from the
really
soul. It just, you know, that's what
you
you want to
feel
do.
it.
Yeah, you just feel it. We really just go by feel.
Then
We
how
really
do you ever, I mean, have you ever thought that, you know, I really need to craft my skills when it comes to music? You know, there are certain limits that you feel, oh yeah, I really need to push myself further, challenge myself.
I think the need for crafting is not really there so much in terms of being a technical player, for example.
Right, okay.
But maybe I was kind of blessed to be able to sing the way I do. So in that sense, I never really had to hone my singing so much. It's just naturally, I know that I want to be a better singer. Just, it doesn't feel like work. It really doesn't. Yeah. Maybe with guitar, it does feel like sometimes.
How
I have to
about the
work.
other members? Do they really push themselves to?
That's a good question.
Okay, maybe you should ask them.
I hope they feel just the natural desire to want to be the best that they can be. That's all.
Right, okay. That's very interesting. So we'll take a short break here. When we come back, perhaps this time we'll talk something different here with Fuad.
The Durian Heat, bringing big ideas and critical opinions in Southeast Asia.
Welcome back to Durian ASEAN. You're still with Grace and also Fuad at the Durian Heat. So we talked about the oldest aspect when it comes to music and the music industry, and also his band Kyoto Protocol. But now let's move on to something different here. Perhaps we'll talk about his daily job and also perhaps economic side in Malaysia as well. And let's see how interesting it can be.
All right,
So
let's do this.
I've got this question, Fuad. I'm not local, but then I'm really worried about the situation in Malaysia when it
don't
comes to
worry.
economic growth.
Yeah.
Ringgit value, it affects us,
Yeah.
you know. And what's your perspective? What's your thought, basically?
you're not local, so imagine how worried the locals are.
Exactly. That's what I'm asking you.
So yeah, ringgit strength. Okay, first I have to disclaim that these are my opinions. They're not opinions of my firm. Okay.
Sure.
But basically, the ringgit weakness was really kind of there to be had. Really, it was a symptom of because Malaysia is one of the few net exporters of oil and gas in the region, right? So when the price of oil and then consequently the price of gas fell, we were always going to feel that hit. So oil and gas revenues make up about 30% of what the government earns. So the government has these revenues from oil and gas, taxes and stuff like that. So that's 1/3. So that's a lot put at risk. We're not saying that it's going to go to zero, but it's the market pricing in this uncertainty in terms of will Malaysia be able to hit their targets in terms of fiscal deficits and stuff like that. Basically, will the Malaysian government be able to stay solvent, right? Generally, it will. It's just whether the situation deteriorates or it doesn't. So the other side, the second factor, which doesn't help, is the news.
The news.
The bad news about a certain government-linked company that was supposed to be investing in certain infrastructure, and then they're tracing funds and stuff like that. So a lot of that seems to be politicized. It's not so much about the bottom line. 42 billion is not really that big in the scale of things,
Okay.
It only works out to about 3 to 4% of Malaysia's GDP. And if anything, it's government guaranteed, and the government still has a lot of ability to refinance that. So that's not really a problem. It's not really about solvency of the government. It's not a problem. It's because it's been politicized, and politics has always been one of the main fulcrums when overseas investors look at Malaysia.
Right. So when all this news are released,
exactly, it doesn't look good. So people will want to be short on the ringgit, and they want to be long on things like the dollar.
So are you saying that we are losing foreign investors?
We're not exactly losing foreign investors. It depends on what markets you're looking at.
Right. Okay.
For example, I think if the ringgit shows too much volatility, that means not so much, doesn't matter what level, but if it keeps changing and there's a lot of uncertainty in the long run, yes, if you have this for over a year, 2 years, you are going to be affected. Foreign investors are going to pull out. But if a cheap ringgit, actually it's cheaper for foreign investors to come in.
Right, of course.
Yeah. So a lot of Malaysians are, of course, thinking about their own perspective. There's of course another perspective to look at, right? But the ringgit definitely will be weak, because if you look at the factors, what has changed? Has oil price come up? No, it hasn't. It's around there, and in fact, it went up to about 60, which saw the ringgit maybe go, about 360, which is a pretty good level to be, and now we're back at 380 again.
Yeah.
Right. Second factor is this 1MDB thing going to move away? It hasn't been concluded. That shadow hangs there, and more of the shadow is about who's going to lead if this actually brings down some political figures,
right,
and people have to be replaced.
Right.
So that uncertainty is what really I think the market is pricing in more in terms of the dollar ringgit. And if you ask where is it going to be, which is of course the question that most people want to know, they want to know some kind of crystal ball. I think 380 is going to be that center point.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's going to be 375. Sometimes it might even go to 390, depending on the news. So, like I said, the most important is to look out for these two factors. If anything changes with respect to oil, if it's oil price higher, ringgit will probably be higher. If this 1MDB situation boils over and becomes more settled, then ringgit will most probably be higher. Fundamentally, there isn't a reason why the ringgit should have weakened as much as it did, as much as the Indonesian rupiah, for example. We have very different economics. We have very different fundamentals if you look at FX markets.
How about in terms of tourism? Will that really sort of help to boost up the ringgit value?
You see, it takes more than one to tango, for sure.
Right.
Of course, people say it takes two, but in my mind, there are more factors than just a weak ringgit to attract tourists.
Right.
You need to have attractions. You need to have a working infrastructure. You need to have good service. You need to have a functioning public transport.
But
these guys
Malaysia is well known for tourism, right? I mean, we do attract a lot of foreigners.
But I do note that the writing's on the wall when it comes to some of these things that we've done. I think Malaysia did very well in the early 2000s, I mean, in the last decade, to attract tourists from the Middle East, right? So kind of the whole Bukit Bintang and all that, they kind of leveraged off the status as a Muslim country and all that to really attract these guys in. But we are losing that status slowly. And actually maybe even rapidly, because I'm not very familiar with the tourism numbers, but just anecdotally, if you think we have a lot of Arab tourists, you go to Bangkok and you see the difference. You go anywhere in Thailand, you see the difference. And that's because Thailand don't really have anything else. So these people, their bread and butter depends on this. So when the survival's on the line, they really make sure that they have to deliver the best tourist experience.
Which they really do.
They really do, see? So that's the difference. Malaysians are kind of like in between here and there. We kind of feel, a lot of us feel like, oh no, we are above and beyond having to be service staff. So we have to import a lot of labor.
Right.
And yet, how can we play those both sides? If you want to be service oriented, then maybe tourism can come in. But we're not really at that point. We have too much affluence to be service oriented. Maybe we don't realize what it is to have to fight for the dollar. So I guess to fight for tourist dollars, to be specific, I think we do need to go through a bit of hardship to learn the hard way of what it means to fight for tourism.
So what's the hard way to change the whole,
for people to potentially lose their jobs, and that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the real problem of scratching your head and thinking, where am I going to get my next paycheck from?
So will they, do you think that we will get through all this in the future?
Yes,
or no?
I think it is.
Yeah?
I think we will, because it happens. Other countries in ASEAN will paint a similar story. Apologies, I don't mean to offend anybody, but I'm just speaking from my own experiences and what I've learned. But the Philippines went through a really tough time in the 70s and 80s with the Marcos administration, right? So after they went out, they kind of had like a lost decade, and actually things are still very tough in the Philippines. There's a lot of poverty, especially if you're in Manila.
You see a lot
of the slums and stuff like that. But with the right, from that, I think people have learned, they've galvanized. I think the Filipinos are hardy people, they're hardworking people. They skill up when they need to.
But isn't that also the culture? Now we are talking about the culture from the ringgit value here. But the Malaysian culture and the Filipino culture is different, and that also links to people's mindsets.
Do you know that the Philippines was almost exactly like Malaysia 30-40 years ago?
Yeah, that's what I heard. Yeah.
So the culture, what difference is there? We are the same people.
Right. Okay.
Tagalog and Malay, 50% the same vocabulary. Sarap, sarapan, mahal kita. We even have similar words. You know. So actually, culturally, we're not that different. What's different is Malaysia has a lot of natural resources to rely on, and a government that has made a lot of money from those resources and is able to support large proportion of its citizens through the civil service, through other means, through government contracts or whatever. So we've been able to support each other through that. So that's where the difference is. So if we were more like the Philippines and we didn't have those kind of things to rely on, we had to rely on service, then those things would have become more developed as well. It's not about culture, it's about survival. Survival dictates culture.
So when it comes to, if Malaysians go through the survival kind of level, we will change.
Oh yeah, definitely. If you looked at Philippines back then, I think everybody would have written it off. But look at them today. They've got upgraded to the sovereign rating has been upgraded to investment grade. So that means that the economy is improving. The prospects are looking good. They're one of the few economies that have actually done very, very well in these past few years.
Even though they still have a lot of downs there when it comes to poverty level.
It's not so much about where they are, it's about where their direction is. And their direction is heading up.
Right. You've made a really good point there, Fuad.
Yeah.
And then I'm sure our listeners out there was like, wow, this different side of Fuad. When he thought that he's from Kyoto Protocol and could be very quirky and very interesting. But this is also very interesting side of Fuad.
The reality is, I spend most of my time doing this rather than the music. I spend way more time doing this.
So now we know.
Yeah.
So we'll take one more short break, and then when we return, perhaps we will get to know more about Fuad from Kyoto Protocol.
The Durian Heat, bringing big ideas and critical opinions in Southeast Asia.
Welcome back to Durian ASEAN, the voice of discovery and sharing. You're with Grace and also Fuad at the Durian Heat. So we've talked about the different topics for the past 2 segments, and now let's get to the personal level with the Fuad here. Really get things quite serious and also fun. So you are not only, you have the daily job, but at the same time you have other jobs as well, rather than being a musician.
Yes.
So you're the host from one of the TV programs.
I'm one of the 2 hosts on this TV show called Hoods, which is showing on 8 TV.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then what's the program about? And
okay, this is a simple way, or most like layman way for me to put it. You know how people in Subang, in Malaysia, in KL, the suburb called Subang, they're very proud of that they're from Subang, right? Hey, where are you from? Oh yeah, I'm from Subang. Subang's the best,
Yeah.
So like literally, okay, you say Subang's the best, we're gonna go down and see, is it really, what is there to do? So it's not so much like we're fact-checking people, but we're really trying to get behind how does that pride for your neighborhood come about.
Right.
So we're exploring the neighborhood, usually through the businesses and the people who've grown up there or own businesses there, and their experiences, and what on a very personal level, what do they feel makes Subang, for example, or whatever gives the neighborhood their unique identity.
So where have you explored so far?
Oh, we've been like a lot of places in Klang Valley. Outside of Klang Valley, I've been to Kajang. Zer's been to Seremban. Ipoh. What else do we have? Penang.
So
Malacca.
You've seen all these distinctions.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Even within KL, there are distinctions, but the more distance between, the more distinction you're going to get. For sure.
So what's the memorable episode that you can share with us?
I would say Ipoh.
Ipoh.
Because so on the outside it looks like a very sleepy town and there's nothing happening.
Yeah.
But actually they have a very unique identity, and you won't be able to see this until you go for this thing called Pasar Karat, or basically Rusty Market. So it's kind of like a night market, but it doesn't happen at night. It's a street market that happens in the day, and it starts at 5 a.m.
Wow.
And even at 5 o'clock in the morning.
People wake up early.
Yes, that's why you don't see Ipoh people out at night, because they're all sleeping early so that they can all go early to this market.
Right, makes sense.
And in this market you'll find all kinds of things, but the main theme of the market is you'll find all kinds of antiques and antiquities and old things that are reused. So actually what's interesting is that in Ipoh hardly anything gets thrown away.
Right.
And it's not only with tangible items, it's also with traditions. So a lot of the businesses that have been doing really well, like this famous Funny Mountain Tauhu Fa, or the famous Nam Hyong coffee shop, the original white coffee, right?
Yes, I've been there.
What's the secret to them? There's really no super secret formula that they're locking in a vault somewhere. It's just that they followed the traditional formula and they stayed true to it.
That's how they maintain their own value also then.
Yeah,
wow,
so actually Ipoh is one of those places that when I asked the people, what is it that you would have changed about, or that you would like to see change about the neighborhood, all of them said, no, it shouldn't change. It should be the way it is.
Wow. So Fuad, being a host, right? How is it like? Do you have the different TV personalities, or like, being a musician's personalities?
I say that they're all facets of myself. So I think it's all very real in that sense. How would I put it?
Or is it the journey to discover more about yourself?
especially for hoods, that's especially true because I was born and I was raised in Singapore.
Right.
So I lived there until I was 14, and then when I came back to Malaysia, I moved into boarding school, and it was between boarding school and being in KL, and I just really wanted to have fun, go play video games and stuff with friends. I wasn't interested about neighborhoods and the culture and why KL was the way it was, and so it was a great opportunity to discover all of that, discover for myself about Malaysia.
So in front of camera, you're not camera shy anymore.
No, I think because the way we did it was super easygoing. It's just the crew is only 2 people, and the director is the main camera guy at the same time, and no scripts, so I could literally just talk off the cuff. So yeah, and
it comes with the beautifying after the edition, right?
yeah. Hopefully, I don't need too much beautifying.
Well, at the same time, you've also traveled with your band to Japan and also the country. Share us with your experience. How is it like?
You know what's funny?
What?
I have no compulsion to go travel on my own. Like, it just feels like when I have free time, like, oh yes, I just want to stay home and finish my video game, and I just want to eat pizza, and I just want to relax.
Couch potato and
couch potato. I'm a supreme couch potato. But somehow when it comes to the band, because of that drive that we want to go places, we want to do stuff, we want to bring music everywhere, that fantastic feeling. So yeah, we managed to travel. I think most notable was when we went to Japan, but other than that, we've also been to Thailand, we've been to Indonesia, we've been to Taiwan, we've been to Singapore, and we want to go more places, that's for sure.
So when is your sort of next destination?
There's some really cool festivals out there in Thailand. We want to go back. Hong Kong, Philippines. I would love to go to the Philippines. Indonesia, we've never been. It's the kind of one of the closer ones when we haven't been yet.
And it's very nearby.
yeah, exactly.
So how is it like when it comes to traveling with your band, and you meet different people, right? Different backgrounds, different countries.
Very.
How are they like so far? How when you play music, the acceptance or the appreciation?
Oh wow! I would say it varies. So in Taiwan, we saw a very different side of just humanity, really, because they're not people who are chasing the big bucks or what. They really just kind of do things out of passion. And actually, in that sense, Japan is similar.
Right.
But in its way very different because in Japan, like what we see on the ground is that people have this supreme passion for music.
Right.
Like whereas in Taiwan they're a bit more like relaxed.
Chill.
They're just relaxed about life. But in Japan it's like super passionate no matter what they do. Whether it's if they have a part-time job to make ends meet, they'll do the best. If they're in a band, they will do the best. They'll give it their best to their abilities, and they keep fighting until they become better than themselves. I don't think it's really to become the best, but they know that they want to become better than themselves.
How did you engage with those audience? I mean,
actually, I'm
different languages.
Quite fortunate to be basic conversational Japanese, so
awesome.
That helps a bit. Although stage manner and all that, I don't exactly know what I'm doing is the right thing or not, but at least I can talk to people. At least say that we're from Malaysia, where are you from, and how long we're here.
Basic conversations.
Yeah, so like
very good.
Basic conversational. In Taiwan it was a bit harder, but they speak a bit more English than I would say Japanese people do. So,
so
just in general, of course. Yeah.
So you travel because of your band.
Yeah, travel because of the band, or travel for maybe work and stuff. Yeah.
But work is different again, right? The traveling with the band.
Even then, I do quite enjoy traveling for work. I think it's quite. Because I get to take my skills and apply them into different jurisdictions.
It's more like holy work.
Yeah.
Is it? So let's just talk a little bit more about your band, because your band also entered the competitions, and that was also pretty big in Malaysia.
Yeah.
How was it like? And it's definitely a different feeling when you perform, like performance, and being in the one of the participants for the competitions.
It was a fantastic feeling. I think nothing can quite top being on Versus, because not so much is gaining new fans or whatever, no, because it gives me hope for the Malaysian music industry. It really did. It's one of those rare shows where it's on primetime TV and people watch and people want to see more creativity.
Right.
The weirder, the more disjointed, the more the more non-conventional it is, the more they like it. And that's a very, very rare thing. Even if all those other music-based TV shows out there like American Idol or whatever, it's more about kind of playing it safe, you know? Like if you sing the Stevie Wonder song very well, you're going to go far. But if you sing PJ Harvey, no, you're not going to connect with anybody. So that's why Versus is so different. I don't know any other show that's like that. Even the rock shows like In Excess Rockstar, it was all about kind of living up to that 80s rock star thing. They had some kind of mold that they had to fit into, whereas this was really kind of, the music was just open format, whatever you could do.
So you really challenged your creativity there. And also
for us, I think we blossomed in it because that's exactly our foundation as a band. We wanted to have this free flow nature, you know. So we went into the competition really as kind of the smallest guys, the least known out of all the bands there, right? Because you had other bands like Estranged, which had big radio hits. You have bands like Crystal, who have like very known backers like Awi, who's one of the biggest singers ever. So they also had a lot of success when they were young, and even now to a certain degree. So compared to all of them, we were really the small fry, you know. And for us to go into the competition and as the dark horse and come out in second place, I think is a fantastic achievement. The only regret is that they weren't able to continue the show. And I really do hope that, you know, whoever is, you know, thinking about, maybe we should bring Versus back, do whatever you can, because I think it will really be worth it. There's nothing else like it. It really stands out from the crowd.
I don't know whether I should reveal your age here or not, but then I believe you're not that young.
I'm not that young.
And you're not that old also, but then it looks like you have had a lot of experience in different fields. And as a person, you know,
I suppose, you know, it's weird that this is kind of like the first time I'm thinking about how much experience that I've had. Because like up to this point, it's just like
fruitful.
Just do. I haven't really taken stock.
It's very interesting stories, and I'm happy that I invited you at Durian Heat to talk about all different sides of Fuad here. Not only from Kyoto Protocol, but then you can be anything, basically.
No, I'm glad that someone's taking an interest. So that's nice.
So, do you have any messages out there to our listeners, or when it comes to music, or even at the entrepreneurship, or because you've basically grabbed everything, the opportunities that are given to you? So
I would say, okay, I'm just going to break it down to different facets. Okay, so for music, just go with your gut, go with what feels right, and really be honest with yourself. Because it's very easy to lie to yourself. It's very easy to listen to yourself in recording and think that I sound great, and that's not a good thing.
Being honest to yourself doesn't mean that you really need to listen to yourself.
Oh yes, you really need to be completely honest with yourself. Don't make yourself, don't have any delusions like, oh, I look in the mirror, I'm the prettiest person in the world. You have to be honest, you have to be very realistic if you're going to be in music. You have to be very realistic so you know where you can improve. And it's always about always improving yourself. That's what it is. And for Malaysia, I would say that there will be a lot of things that come and go, a lot of noise, but just rise above it. And you know, I think a lot of Malaysians want change, and they want positive change. So what I would say is, be the change that you want to see in other people.
That's a very famous quote.
It is a famous quote. I don't know who said it,
by Gandhi.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
So well, there you go, Mr. Gandhi. But be the change you want to see in other people. You know, I think, for example, we all on the roads, we get very angry with people, drive like maniacs and all that, and maybe don't give way. But then think about it, when's the last time that you did it? Have you done it? And don't treat other people who do things wrong with anger or revenge, because that doesn't result in anything good. You know? And for the greater ASEAN, I think as a region, I think we're going to do very, very well. I think we have a lot of hungry, a lot of talented people, hard workers. And I think, you know, we just need to eye on the prize, and I think we're going to come out very, very strong.
Thank you for all those messages coming from Fuad, and you've touched the different areas already. So thank you.
Most welcome. Thanks for having me.
You're